Today, I'm going to be creating my own NBA universe where I manage trades, free agency, and I also import historical draft classes so that we'll see guys like Michael Jordan playing against LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. We're starting this off in 2010. This is the LeBron era. So just so you know what the rosters are looking like, we're going to go through a quick overview of each team, and then we'll get into a few trades before we get started with season number 1. So teams like the Sixers, the Bobcats, these are some of the worst teams in the league. They're going through rebuilding phases. But then you look at the Bulls with an injury-free Derrick Rose. They're going to have an opportunity to compete for an NBA championship. The Cavs, Bron just left them. They're really bad. The Celtics have their big three. The Los Angeles Clippers have Blake Griffin, but Chris Paul hasn't headed there yet. The Miami Heat, of course, are the Miami Heat, Bron, Wade, and Bosh. The Hornets have Chris Paul, but they don't have a ton of help around him. The Utah Jazz are just alright. The Sacramento Kings are pretty bad. What's new? I mean, they finally bounced back in real life. The Lakers have Kobe and Powell. The Magic have Dwight Howard. The Nuggets have Melo. The Indiana Pacers have a young Paul George. The Pistons have kind of moved on from that stage where they had Ben Wallace and Billups and all of those guys. The Suns have an old Steve Nash. The Oklahoma City Thunder, with their young big three, are definitely in the midst of a come up right now. The Minnesota Timberwolves have Kevin Love. The Portland Trail Blazers have LaMarcus Aldridge, Brandon Roy, Nick Batum, but no Damian Lillard just yet. The Warriors have Steph and Monte Ellis. That might be one of my first moves of this video, trading away Monte Ellis so that Steph Curry can get a ton of touches and develop his game. The Washington Wizards have John Wall. So now that we've gone through the rosters really quickly, I want to get into a few moves before we start season number 1. And this first one's going to be absolutely huge. I want to trade Chris Paul away from the Hornets. But this time, he's not going to go to the Lakers. He's going to be going to New York to play alongside Amari Stoudemire. In this NBA universe, I want to have Melo stay with the Nuggets, but Chris Paul in New York with a lob threat like Amari and injuries are off? I don't know. That doesn't sound too bad to me. And the New York Knicks, they have a couple solid young players, so I'll include them in the trade package. Keep in mind, though, in this era of NBA, it wasn't like you're giving up all the rest of your first-round picks for the next decade to get a star player. Trade packages were definitely a lot less at this time period, but we will give them a couple first-round picks, and we'll also include a few solid young players, and boom, we have this trade working out financially, and that's good enough for me. So we're going to send Chris Paul to New York to play alongside Amari Stoudemire. I'm really excited for this pairing in New York. And the Hornets, they'll get some solid players that are young and they can build with, and they get some draft capital. So I think that trade worked out pretty well for both teams. The next team we're moving on to is Golden State. I talked about this a second ago. I want Steph Curry to get a ton of touches, so sorry Monte Ellis, but, well, actually, this is going to be good for you too. The Chicago Bulls, they need a two guard, and who better than Monte Ellis, who was getting a ton of buckets at this time period? If the Warriors could get some draft capital for Monte, that doesn't sound too bad. So we'll include Kyle Korver in this trade package, and we'll also include Ronnie Brewer so that we can make the money work for this trade. Then we're going to have to give them back another player, so there's an even amount of players in the trade. We'll go ahead and throw in Jarvis, and then we'll also throw in some draft capital so that the Warriors can go ahead and get started on this rebuild, build their squad around Steph. 2 firsts for Monte Ellis does not sound bad at all to me, and for the Bulls, they're going to stack up their roster even more, giving them an opportunity to win a championship with Derrick Rose. The Bulls look absolutely stacked, but they're going to need to be if they want to compete with the Miami Heat. Also, we have the 1984 draft coming into the league this offseason. Like I said, I'm going to put some legends into this league, and we're going to start that off in a big way with MJ and Hakeem coming into our league. But for right now, we've got to worry about the trade deadline. I wanted to see how the first couple moves that I made panned out before I made any more, and obviously for the Bulls, this Monte Ellis move was perfect. They're the #1 seed in the East, and they have lost 4 games so far while winning winning 47. So maybe I made them a little too crazy because they're even way better than the Miami Heat. But we'll see where they're at when the season's over if I just created an absolute super team. But for now, let's look at some of the other teams. At the bottom of the East, you got the Milwaukee Bucks. I think this is fine. They've got young guys like Brandon Jennings and Andrew Bogut. It'll be good for them to get another young player in there who can provide them with some more talent on the roster. As for the Charlotte Bobcats, I think that we could actually make a move here. Gerald Wallace, he's around 30, he's 85 overall, he could definitely help a contender. The Knicks, they're struggling. I'm surprised by this. I thought they had a good enough roster to compete, but right now they sit at 8th in the East. The Nets are surprising right now. They're doing really well. They're actually the 7th seed, so maybe I'll make a move to help them out, but I don't really know if they should get better. I feel like this is one of those teams that's really overperforming and isn't going to be able to make much noise in the NBA playoffs. The Atlanta Hawks are also pretty solid. Indiana's definitely overperforming at the 4 seed. Did not expect them to be so good. A team that really intrigues me is Orlando here. They've got a star player in Dwight Howard. They're sitting at the 3 seed and they need a small forward. And remember, we were just talking about Gerald Wallace, so I think this could actually be a great fit for Gerald. We're going to go ahead and throw Gerald Wallace into the trade, go over to the Orlando Magic and see what type of trade package we can put together. I think that JJ Redick could actually be a solid player for the Charlotte Bobcats. I mean, Redick, he's only 26 years old, good shooter, and I don't really know who else Orlando would give up, because even if they get rid of Redick, they'll still have Vince Carter, who can start at the 2 guard spot, and I guess they can have like Q Rich coming off the bench, so that could work out pretty well for Orlando. So this looks like a solid trade package. Now, some draft capital probably needs to be involved as well, as Gerald Wallace is really good at an 85 overall. I wanted to see if this would work with Michael Petrus, but the money wouldn't work out. So I guess we're going to go with JJ Redick in this trade. We'll go ahead and add a 1st round pick. I think that that's definitely fair considering that the Bobcats are in a rebuild, and we'll throw in a couple 2nd round picks just to make the trade a little bit better. Now that move is done and the Orlando Magic get some help at their small forward spot. The Charlotte Bobcats, they still have Steven Jackson, but I think I'll just keep him on the squad. I mean, they need somebody to score out there on their roster, and Steven Jackson can get some buckets for them. Number 1 in the Western Conference is the Denver Nuggets with Carmelo Anthony, Chauncey Billups. They look absolutely great. They're making a lot of noise. The San Antonio Spurs sit at 2nd. The Spurs are the Spurs. It's pretty self-explanatory. The Oklahoma City Thunder are at 3rd, up-and-coming young team. I don't really want to do anything to mess with their young core. I think they're fine where they're at. The Mavs sit at 4th. They've got a really nice starting 5. Got JJ Barea coming off the bench. Their roster, I mean, it looks great to me. I don't know what I'd change. Now the Lakers, they could use some help at the point guard spot. 77 overall D-Fish starting at the 1. They also have 78 overall Ron Artest at the 3. As for the Clippers, they need a better small forward. They're 32-20, but their small forward position, I mean, they're starting somebody who's in the 60s, so they could use some help there. I think that we could actually trade Steven Jackson potentially because, I mean, he's sitting at an 83 overall. So I was just saying I wouldn't trade him, but now it's starting to make a lot of sense to do that. It could be an opportunity for the Bobcats to get even more picks, and an opportunity for the Clippers, who are having a really good season, to improve their roster. We'll include Danny Green and Kenneth Boyd, and then we'll just throw in somebody on this Bobcats roster who isn't making much money. We'll throw in Mike Bridges. This isn't a ton of value for the Charlotte Bobcats, so I will look to throw in some draft capital as well. It won't work with Nazi Muhammad. I was going to do that because it looks like this Mike Bridges was a younger guy at only 23, but he's only a 70. I don't think that'll really affect too much in this video. We'll go ahead and throw in a 1st round pick, whichever one of these they'll let me trade here. Okay, I mean, the Clippers don't have many picks they can trade, but we'll throw in that top 10 protected T-Wolves pick, which for some reason has a ton of value. It's protected though, so I don't think that it'll end up being anything crazy. If it lands in the top 10, the Timberwolves will get that back. So we'll go ahead and do that trade, and I'm pretty happy with those few moves. I'm not really sure of what else to do as of right now. I'm not just gonna make a million trades in this video, but if I see anything else that looks good, I will go ahead and do it. And one thing that was really sticking out to me is the Lakers' troubles at the point guard spot. I'd love to see Kobe win a ring in this video, and getting him a better point guard could be a way to help him with that. So looking at the Western Conference, no team has really stuck out to me in terms of having a point guard who I think they'd realistically want to give up. I mean, the Hornets, they got a 68 overall starting at point guard. That is crazy. The Utah Jazz are 12th, but Deron Williams, he's still pretty young, so I think he should stick around there at least for now, but I'll keep an eye on Utah. Now the Phoenix Suns. This is a real life move that happened, but Steve Nash, old man Nash, 37 years old, sitting on this Phoenix Suns squad. You know what? We might have to try and make the Steve Nash Lakers trade happen once again. Obviously in real life the last time, it didn't really work out too well, but in this NBA universe, injuries are off, so it should work out a little bit better. We've got Ron Artest and Matt Barnes who could help make the money work in this trade. I'm going to put Ron Artest in the trade. It doesn't work out just yet, so we'll have to throw somebody else in this trade. Daryl Hughes is making crazy money. We'll throw Luke Walton, coaching legend, into the trade, and just like that, the money works. I'll give them like one pick, but I feel like it's crazy to give up a ton of draft capital for an old Steve Nash. So we'll throw in one first round pick, maybe a second round or a couple seconds, but I think that's plenty for an old Steve Nash. And now Nash is on the Lakers. They should have an even better opportunity to contend with their point guard spot further solidified. Derek Fisher is solid, don't get me wrong, but I think that move should definitely help them out. But for now, I'm pretty happy with how all the trades went, so let's get to the end of the season. LeBron James was named the MVP of the league. Shout out to my glorious king. Blake Griffin was named Rookie of the Year. Manu, Sixth Man, Dwight, DPOY, Serge Ibaka was the most improved. And Tom Thibodeau won 70 games as the Chicago Bulls went crazy this year. He was the coach of the year. And looking at the All-NBA first team, you see Kevin Love, Russ, D. Wade, Bron, and Dwight Howard. Second team, you got Rondo, CP3, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and Pau Gasol. Third, you got Curry, D. Rose, Josh Smith, Blake Griffin, and DeMarcus Cousins. So the Steph Curry move, like trading away Monte Ellis to help out Steph, let him get a shine, seems like that worked out pretty well. But let's see how the season ended up finishing off. OKC was sitting at third, but they made their way all the way up to number 1. The Nuggets fell to number 2 as a result. The Mavs finished the season as the 3rd seed. Spurs were 4th. I think they were 2nd when we checked in on them at the trade deadline. And 5th are the Lakers with Steve Nash. I expected a bit more improvement after they added Nash, but guess not. The Los Angeles Clippers, after the Steven Jackson edition, I expected them to do better, but they're sitting at 6th in the Western Conference, which isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but I thought they would improve a bit more because, I mean, they had a guy who was in the 60s starting at point guard. As for the East, the Bulls finished number 1. The Heat were at number 2. Boston finished off the season at 3 with old Shaq starting at center. I know y'all have seen the Celtics Shaq memes. Gerald Wallace helped out the Orlando Magic at small forward, and the Pacers, they finished off at the 5th seed. Atlanta Hawks were the 6th seed. Shout out to podcast legend Jeff Teague. New York didn't even make the playoffs in the East. And actually, Philadelphia, I feel like this is pretty surprising. They had a 66 overall starting at center and still made the playoffs. The Bucks were trash. They'll have a chance at MJ. Bobcats were trash. Same thing. They'll have a chance at MJ. Raptors were garbage as well, so they'll have a chance at Michael Jordan. All right, time for this year's NBA playoffs. We're going to simulate a little bit, see if we get any close series, and we'll also see who ends up getting bounced out. We already saw the Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Indiana Pacers get bounced out of the first round. And then the Dallas Mavericks, they go down. The Spurs lose as well. Portland loses. That's not too surprising, but seeing the Spurs and Mavs go down in round 1 is crazy. The Mavs actually lost to the Clippers. All right, we've got the Atlanta Hawks and the Celtics, though, going to a Game 7 here. The Celtics Big 3 looking to make it to round 2, and they'll have to take on Miami if they do advance. So we'll see how this goes. The Boston Celtics, with their experience, get off to an early lead, and they just hold on to it throughout the entirety of the game. They end up having a blowout win here, winning by 36 points. Paul Pierce with 36 points on the game, and Rondo had 18 points and 18 assists, also 10 boards, making it a triple-double. Jay Crossover led the Hawks in scoring, 25 points, but that wasn't enough to get the dub. We've got a Game 7 here between the young Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets with an old Yao Ming. They've also got Kevin Martin and Kyle Lowry. So let's see how this one goes. It's a back and forth game early on, but after that, the Oklahoma City Thunder decided, let us lock in real quick, and they go ahead and pull away with it. The Thunder are going to advance, but the fact that they went to 7 games in the first place is pretty crazy. Russell Westbrook had 27, KD had a big game, and Yao Ming, old Yao, not even that old Yao, it's just the injuries caught up to him. He played pretty decent in the playoffs though, considering he's only a 79 overall. In round number 2, we got the Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Los Angeles with Kobe taking on the young Thunder, who absolutely dominated the West of the season. We've also got the Clippers and the Nuggets. The Clippers somehow beating out the Mavs to make it to round 2. We've got the Magic and the Bulls in the Eastern Conference. Orlando, after the Gerald Wallace pickup, doing well so far. And we've got Miami versus Boston. LeBron taking on Paul Pierce, KG, Rondo, Ray Allen. Of course, Bron's also got like D Wade and Chris Bosh. That Heat team is ridiculous. I expect them to win that series for sure. The Clippers end up losing. So do the Lakers, who lose in a gentleman's sweep to the young Thunder. But out east, we've got a bit more competitive series. Both of them end up finishing in 6 as the Magic and the Celtics lose. That sets up our conference finals. In the West, we've got the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Denver Nuggets. Carmelo Anthony still in Denver, playing some great basketball alongside Chauncey Billups and J.R. Smith. We've got the Chicago Bulls taking on the Miami Heat. LeBron James versus Derrick Rose. Those are the 2 headliners of this series, but a lot of great players playing in that one as well. And the Bulls are coming off of a 70-win season, so we'll see if they can make it to the finals. I want to hop into the Simcast as this series is tied up at 2 apiece. And in this game, unfortunately, we don't get one that we can hop into. It looks like the Miami Heat are going to win this in pretty convincing fashion. A 14-point win. Derrick Rose and Monte had 25, but Dwayne Wade, he was on a mission in this one, almost 40 points. Bron had a solid game, and overall, he's having a huge playoff run. The Chicago Bulls are 1 game away from elimination, as the Denver Nuggets do get eliminated by the Thunder in a gentleman's sweep. Is Chicago going to be able to hold on here? It doesn't look like it. Miami's going to win this one in dominant fashion. Despite the fact that the Bulls won 70 games, it wasn't enough for them to get it done in this big game. Luol Deng had 31 points. Derrick Rose struggled a bit. Monte Ellis, though, I mean, I know this game was kind of bad for him, but he put up some good numbers. The efficiency kind of sucked. But it is what it is, man. Monte was doing his thing. The 3-point shooting was rough in the NBA playoffs, to say the least, for Monte. But I think he ended up being a good pickup for Chicago. Anyway, we have a Oklahoma City Thunder versus Miami Heat finals. Game 1 is going to go to the Miami Heat. Game 2 to the Thunder. Game 3 to Miami. And the Heat are up 3-1. They're going to get this done in a gentleman's sweep. And LeBron and the Heat going to win the chip. And now we have a very exciting offseason. If you don't remember, it's time for the Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and John Stockton draft. This is going to be an exciting one. Of course, the headlining player is MJ, but you've also got some other great players like Hakeem and Stockton. Now, in the offseason, we didn't see any crazy rule changes. I might actually delve into the rule changes a little bit since this is my NBA universe. We'll see. But anyway, let's simulate this draft lottery, see who lands number 1. It's going to be the Charlotte Bobcats, ironically, of course, because, you know, Michael Jordan was the owner of the Charlotte Bobcats. Of course, they turned into the Hornets, and Michael Jordan recently sold his ownership of the Hornets, but kind of funny how that works out. But let's see, do the Hornets or the Bobcats even pick him at number 1 here? Do they go with Hakeem? Do they go with John Stockton? They're going to pick Hakeem Olajuwon. So the Bobcats pass up on MJ. The Bucks are not going to make the same mistake. They draft MJ, and John Stockton goes to the Kings to play with DeMarcus Cousins and Tyreek Evans. I think that'll be an interesting fit there. He should be able to get those guys some good looks, some nice open shots. And then the rest of the draft is kind of just auto-generated, guys. I think 2K needs to make the draft classes a bit deeper here when it comes to these historic draft classes, because to be honest, they're just not that good. I mean, obviously there's the top players, but after that, it kind of falls off. I wish 2K would fix that. But anyway, let's take a look at these squads who just drafted future star players. The Milwaukee Bucks have Brandon Jennings, Michael Jordan, and Andrew Bogut. So they've got a nice young core there. Brandon Jennings developing really well for Milwaukee. The Charlotte Bobcats have Hakeem, and they definitely needed his help because the squad was not looking very good. And in Sacramento, probably one of the most exciting young teams in the video now. They've got Stockton, DeMarcus Cousins, and Tyreek Evans. But after all the draft stuff, it's time for free agency, where Carmelo Anthony is going to opt to return to the Denver Nuggets, which I think makes a lot of sense. I'm going to let that move go through. I mean, they just made it to the conference finals. It wouldn't make a ton of sense for him to leave. It looks like Al Horford is eyeing the Thunder, but he is a restricted free agent, so he will probably end up back with the Atlanta Hawks. They had a solid year, so if they end up matching that offer, that works for me. The Chicago Bulls are going to bring back Joakim Noah. Now, Zach Randolph, he doesn't have any offers, and a team that really intrigues me for Randolph is the Sacramento Kings. They've got cap space to work with, so I thought, why not? Let's make this move happen. He can play alongside Boogie in the front court. They've got Stockton to get him some good looks. We're going to sign him onto a 2-year deal with a team option for the 3rd year. That way the Kings maintain some roster flexibility. Tony Parker, it looks like he's going to go back to San Antonio. Makes sense there. Mike Conley's restricted, so he'll probably end up back in Memphis. You rarely see restricted players leave their teams. And really, there might not be a ton of opportunity for the guys who aren't like the top few players in free agency because there just isn't much cap space available. And since this is my NBA universe, I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to raise up the salary cap because it doesn't make sense that like every team is over the salary cap. I want teams to have a bit of money to play with. So I'm going to turn up the salary cap by $5 million. I really would turn it up more, but that's the most they'll let me do. So I guess that's what we'll have to work with for now. And we'll kind of just see how the rest of free agency pans out. I don't really want to spend a ton of time focusing on where each and every role player goes, and I'm pretty fine with guys like Melo, Al Horford, those guys returning to their squads. Of course, we do have the Zach Randolph move to Sacramento. That's going to be the big offseason move for this year, and we'll see if there's any opportunities to make trades to shake up rosters as well. But yeah, Joakim's going back to the Bulls, Al Horford's going to the Hawks. He's returning there. The Nuggets see Melo return. The Spurs see Tony Parker return. Mike Conley's back with the Grizzlies. David West back with the Hornets. Tyson Chandler back with the Mavs. The Oklahoma City Thunder, though, they did have cap space to work with due to the fact that they have Russell Westbrook, KD, and Harden. And I think Russ and Harden are still on their rookie deals at this point. So they went out, they signed Nene to their roster. Solid pickup for them. And then here's some of the other moves if you're interested. The Orlando Magic brought back Vince Carter for 3 more years. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into a full roster breakdown. We'll see all the player progression for this upcoming season. I want y'all to be able to keep up with what's going on with these rosters, and I know that can be a bit difficult. So let's just go through these rosters real quick. There are some teams that are kind of trash, but that's kind of how it is in the NBA, man. I don't know what y'all want me to do. The league can't be like perfectly balanced, and some teams are going to be at the bottom, but that'll give them opportunities to draft some of these legendary players who will be coming in the league in these draft classes. The Milwaukee Bucks, super excited for them with Brandon Jennings, MJ, and Andrew Bogut. Think that's going to be a cool duo. The Chicago Bulls, they're standing strong. They obviously picked up Monte Ellis, and their roster just looks great. The Cavs, they're kind of trash. Bron just left them. The Celtics, they're starting to get older, so we'll have to watch out and see if it might be time for the Celtics to break up the trio that they ended up bringing to the squad. The Clippers, Steven Jackson got worse. Also, they need to get Steven Jackson a face scan. The Grizzlies see some player development. So do the Atlanta Hawks. The Heat see Wade and Bosh get a bit older, start regressing. The Pelicans see a ton of progression, which is great. I think that's good to see as a result of the Chris Paul trade. The Jazz see D. Will as their best player. The Sacramento Kings see a ton of progression. Omri Caspi up to an 80 overall. Things are looking bright in Sacramento. The Knicks still have CP3 and Amari. The Lakers, Still got Kobe, Powell, and Nash on the squad. The Magic looking good as well. The Mavs see Dirk, Jason Terry, Sean Marion, J. Kidd all getting older, so we'll have to see how they do this year. The Brooklyn Nets seeing a lot of player progression. They picked up JR, like that pickup for them, but of course that means that the Nuggets lost JR, and Chauncey Billups starting to regress a bit, so we'll have to see how this year goes for them. The Pacers see Roy Hibbert and Paul George get better. The Pistons are kind of bad. Same thing for the Toronto Raptors, but we'll see if they can draft anybody crazy. The Houston Rockets are also bad. The San Antonio Spurs, you know, they're the Spurs. Tim Duncan, Manu, Tony Parker, you know the Spurs. The Oklahoma City Thunder, their big three continues to get better. They're going to be ridiculous, especially after this Nene pickup. That was a really good pickup for them. I like that they were active in free agency while they had cap space to work with. The Minnesota Timberwolves have Kevin Love as their best guy. The Portland Trail Blazers have Brandon Roy on the squad. Of course, don't have Dame in this NBA universe. He hasn't even entered the league. Curry gets a lot better for the Warriors. And the Washington Wizards have John Wall and Nick Young as their two best guys. Now it's time for the trade deadline, where the Oklahoma City Thunder sit at the top of the Western Conference, and it makes sense why. I'm not going to make any changes to their roster. The Mavs are at number 2. The Warriors actually at number 3 with Steph Curry. Surprising to see that so early in the simulation. Nuggets are 4th. Spurs are 5th. I might see if I can get the Nuggets a younger point guard because Billups is regressing a bit. The Phoenix Suns a bit ahead of schedule, sitting at the 7th seed. The Hornets, same thing. They're at the 8th seed. So some of these teams that I thought would be rebuilding are doing better than I was expecting. The Lakers, though, sitting at the 9th seed despite the Steve Nash pickup and injuries being off. Timberwolves are 10th. Clippers had a major fall off as they're down to the 11th seed. The Sacramento Kings are 12th, but their time will come. I'm going to kind of let them stay put. The Memphis Grizzlies, they've got young guys as well. They should be able to develop quite a bit. I don't know why Sacramento is running Zach Randolph off the bench, though. That doesn't really make sense to me. Utah, though, they're at 14th. They've got D-Will. D-Will's 27. He's about to be a free agent, so he might be the point guard who I trade to the Denver Nuggets. Also, we're almost 30 minutes into the video and I haven't begged for subscribers yet, so you should know what's coming. If you're still watching, be sure to subscribe. But that might be a YouTube world record, almost 30 minutes without begging for subscribers. The Chicago Bulls, number 1 in the West. Miami Heat at number 2, just like last season. Orlando Magic sitting at 3rd. Their squad looks really good. The New Jersey Nets are at 4th. The JR pickup proved to be really good for them. Washington's at 5th. Nick Young is actually crazy in these simulations. And the Bucks with MJ already at 6th. The Bobcats are at 7th with Hakeem. So MJ and Hakeem already making their impacts felt in a big way. The Boston Celtics are underperforming crazily. We might have to trade somebody on that squad to change things up, maybe move them more towards a rebuild. I think I'm going to let Atlanta stand pat for now, but might have to look at doing something with their squad later. And then some of these teams I expected them to suck. The Knicks, man, I don't know what happened. Chris Paul's about to be a free agent this offseason, though. Yeah, he should leave. I'm going to actually make sure he leaves since this is my league. There's a little hint. We'll have something coming up this offseason. Chris Paul going to be on his way out of New York. The Memphis Grizzlies, they're pretty bad. The Sacramento Kings, they're kind of underwhelming, but I give them some time. I think they'll be able to make things work. But Boston is a team I'm really looking at, and I'm going to trade Paul Pierce from the Boston Celtics, which might sound crazy, but I think that the Dallas Mavericks could use an older player to really go all in for one last run. But I don't want them to have to give up anybody who's like a part of their core, like Jason Terry or Tyson Chandler. So I don't think I'll have them do that. I don't know how I'm going to work out this trade package. I want the Celtics to get maybe some picks that they can use in a rebuild. But I mean, Paul Pierce is old, but it's not like he's a bad player or anything. He's an 89 overall. So I definitely want the Boston Celtics to get back some picks they could use in a rebuild or something like that. But I also don't want Dallas just getting absolutely fleeced in this move. So that's why I don't think Jason Terry needs to be in this move. I was kind of like messing with the idea of putting Kevin Garnett in this trade as well, but that's kind of crazy, man. And KG plays the same position as Dirk. Don't really know how that worked out. I mean, I guess KG could play 5, but yeah, I think it'd be more realistic if we did just the Paul Pierce move. I don't want Jason Terry to be in it though, because Terry, he's an important part of what they do. I mean, he was better than LeBron in the 2011 finals. Nah, man, let me stop. But we're going to go ahead, change some things around for this trade, try to make the money work here. For some reason in this era, they have like random players, like sometimes auto-generated guys who are making like crazy money. I don't really know why, but we'll include Sean Marion because he plays the same position as Pierce, and Brendan Haywood. Y'all can have 2 first. And yeah, we're going to call it a day there. So boom, Paul Pierce is a Dallas Maverick. I mean, the Mavs sat at the 2 seed. I wanted them to get aggressive to get better. Now the Nuggets, I remember their point guard problem. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. Chauncey's getting older. I saw Darren Williams on a Utah Jazz team that's been underperforming, and I think it could help their rebuild if they got rid of D. Will. So we're going to look to trade away Chauncey Billups in this move for Darren Williams, get the Nuggets better at point guard. Now, this is going to be a bit of a risky move for Denver because Darren Williams is set to become a free agent, but so is Chauncey. He's on an expiring deal. I don't want the Nuggets to be committing a ton of money to an older Chauncey Billups on a long-term deal. So we're going to trade Chauncey a first, and maybe if there's some young guy we can include in here, yeah, y'all can have Matt Temple, and we'll get this deal done. Like I said, I didn't want it to be too crazy of a trade because Darren Williams is on a 1-year deal. Now it's time to get to the end of the season where Russell Westbrook was named the MVP of the league. Hakeem Olajuwon was the Rookie of the Year, so maybe the Bobcats made the right decision in picking him over MJ. Jordan Farmar won 6-man, Dwight DPOY, Goran Most Improved, and Scott Brooks was the Coach of the Year. The Thunder are absolutely ridiculous. MJ and Hakeem, though, made All-NBA first team in their rookie seasons. Ridiculous stuff from those guys. Steph took the leap onto the All-NBA second team, and Josh Smith, J Smoove, was also on the All-NBA third team. Kobe makes All-Defensive second. All right, time to check out the standings. Let's see if my moves that I made for these squads had an impact. OKC was number 1 in the West. I mean, yeah, they're OKC. The Blazers were number 2. The Blazers continue to get things done with a good, well-rounded squad. The Mavs sit at 3 after the Paul Pierce pickup. The San Antonio Spurs are at 4th. The Warriors are at 5th with Steph Curry. Might have to get Steph some help sometime soon. The Chicago Bulls, the Monte Ellis move. What a masterclass move by me. The Miami Heat are the 2nd seed. The Orlando Magic are 3rd. Washington sits at 4th with Swaggy P, who's a beast in the sim. And the Nets are 5th. And then looking at some of the really bad teams, the Raptors sucked. Maybe they can get somebody good in the draft. Chris Paul and the Knicks, man, this was just such a disappointment, bro. I have no idea what happened, but like I said, he is about to be a free agent. I thought this would be like a cool move. He could play with Amari, and I mean, at least they'd be like a 4 or 5 seed, but nah, they just suck. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, Knicks fans. The Celtics were even worse after we got rid of Paul Pierce, which makes sense. I mean, Paul Pierce is pretty good at basketball. Cavs still trying to find their rhythm after losing LeBron James. Might take them a bit of time to rebuild their roster. And then to look at some of the other teams around the league. In the Western Conference, the Houston Rockets were bad. They're still going through like a rebuild. Utah, bottom of the league, but they've got Gordon Hayward as like a young piece. The Lakers, man, 13th seed. Even with that Nash move, it just hasn't really worked out. And I mean, Kobe at 33 years old, I want to see him competing for championships. But let's go ahead and simulate this first round, see how these matchups go. The Pistons are out of here early as the Heat sweep them. The Timberwolves are out of here, a Thunder sweep there. The New Jersey Nets are out of here. Warriors lose to the Spurs, they're out of here. Pacers lose to Washington. Bobcats lose. Phoenix loses. And then our final matchup here, the Denver Nuggets get eliminated by the Portland Trailblazers. All right, no game sevens in round one, but in round two, we got the young Thunder versus the veteran Spurs. We've got the Chicago Bulls taking on the Washington Wizards. I don't know how Washington's doing what they're doing, but they're doing it. We've got the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers holding strong with Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge. The Orlando Magic taking on the Miami Heat. Can Dwight Howard and company take down the Miami Heat, who have a stacked roster with Bron, Bosch, and Wade? It looks like the Washington Wizards are going to get out of here. So are the Orlando Magic. Oklahoma City is going to beat the San Antonio Spurs. And we've got one game seven between Dallas and Portland. Is this Paul Pierce trade going to pay off for the Dallas Mavericks? They're up by a lot early here, but the Portland Trail Blazers are storming back. They end up taking the lead in this one, so we gotta jump in to see if the Blazers can complete this comeback or if the Dallas Mavericks can reclaim the lead and try to compete for a championship, because they've got an older Dirk and an older Paul Pierce, so it's really now or never. They need to get this win. Portland has the ball up by 4, so they're in a pretty ideal situation here in clutch time. Wesley Matthews gives it to Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy, he's going to spin. Brandon has the ball. He's working on his defender. Come on, make a move or something, man. There you go. He's getting to the basket, going to pull the floater, and it's good. Brandon Roy in his bag gets a bucket, and the Portland Trail Blazers are up by 6 points here. Jason Terry, the Jet, gonna get the screen here. He's working on his defender. Oh my goodness, his defender got dropped by the screen. Gonna pass it to Dirk. There you go. A nice easy bucket for Dirk, using his size to score there and keep the Dallas Mavericks within 4 points. For the Mavs, they're gonna need to stop pretty soon as there's a little over a minute left to go. Wesley Matthews has the ball. He's gonna give it to Nick Batum. This team's got some good 3-point shooters. Batum over to Brandon Roy. Are the Blazers going to go to Brandon Roy once again in clutch time? He gets the screen. Brandon Roy with the shot clock winding down. Tough three is up and it's off. The Dallas Mavericks have a chance here. Less than a minute to go. Jason Terry has the ball. He's going to get the screen once again in about the same spot, and he's going to give it to Dirk. He's got Nicholas Batum guarding him. Nick Batum might be too small. Dirk picks up his dribble though, and he's going to pass it. They get the ball back to Dirk. Shot clock winding down. Dirk going to swing it to Paul Pierce, who pulls the three. The truth, it was a lie. Blazers secure the rebound. They're going to go to Brandon Roy at the free throw line. This one is pretty much wrapped. If he just hits one free throw, we're going to get out of here. Portland, some good clutch time execution. They were able to go out there, play some good basketball. We saw a nice Brandon Roy bucket. He knocks down the free throw. And yeah, we're done. This one's over. The Dallas Mavericks come up short in clutch time. Nick Batum with 25. LaMarcus Aldridge also had 22 and a double-double. So good stuff from those guys. And for the Mavs, they just couldn't get the job done. They've been eliminated from the NBA playoffs, setting up our conference finals. We've got OKC and Portland. It's surprising to see Portland here, but they just showed they can get the job done. So we'll see if they can hang with the Thunder. We've got the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls. This is the second time we've seen this matchup, I believe. The Thunder up 2-0, Thunder up 3-0. Yeah, and both of these series are going to be sweeps. The Bulls easily take care of the Miami Heat, and they're moving on to the finals, where they'll be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 1 goes to OKC. Game 2 goes to Chicago. Game 3 goes to OKC. And we've got a 2-2 series here. Hopefully, we can get a hop-in game. I would love to see young Derrick Rose taking on the young Thunder. Thunder came up short to Miami last season in the finals, and the Bulls came up short to Miami in the conference finals last year, and we've got a close one. I'm excited for this one. 99-101, a little over 2 minutes to go in the game. OKC has possession of the ball, but with a stop here and a bucket, the Chicago Bulls could either tie the game or take the lead. Russell Westbrook has the ball. He's going to get the screen from Nene. Nene's rolling to the rim, but Russ isn't going to pass it. Oh, there he goes. He does end up passing it. Nene's going to give it to James Harden. Harden bullies his way to the basket, gets the layup to go. OKC is up by 4 here. The Bulls need a bucket, and who better than Derrick Rose to try and get it? I hope we see Derrick Rose. Yeah, there you go. He gets right to the basket, uses his speed to his advantage. Two of the most athletic point guards in NBA history in Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook going toe-to-toe. 2-point game, OKC still up. James Harden has it. It looked like he might have had some room for three, but he's going to swing it to Russ, who post fades. Oh my goodness. What a nice post fade there by Russell Westbrook. He's going to knock that down. OKC up by 4 once again. Can Derrick Rose deliver for his Chicago Bulls? He needs a bucket. A little over a minute to go is go time. He's going to go ahead and swing the ball to Monte Ellis, who gives it to Luol Deng. Back over to Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose getting into the paint. He's going to swing it out to Carlos Boozer, who misses the three. Things are not looking great for the Chicago Bulls, but everything could change here with a stop and a bucket. Russell Westbrook working on Derrick Rose. Russ, and oh my goodness, Serge Ibaka steps out of bounds in clutch time. All of a sudden, the door's kind of open for the Chicago Bulls. Hit a 3 here, you're in a great spot. Hit a 2 here, you're still in the game. You still got about 50 seconds to go. Can the Chicago Bulls pull off a nice clutch play here to stay in the game? They're going to give the ball to Derrick Rose, who's going to call another timeout. Bro, what is Suke doing? Derrick Rose, he's going to go ahead, get into the paint. Rose, going to pass it to Boozer. Boozer has the ball in the mid-range area. He's going to give it to Luol Deng, who gives it to Derrick Rose. Rose trying to get into the paint. He's going to pass it out to Monte Ellis. Monte Ellis, he says, why not? And he hits it. Monte Ellis. All of a sudden, we've got a game here, about 25 seconds to go. If the Bulls send OKC to the free throw line, which they're going to do, even if Harden knocks down both. Oh no, they're not in the bonus yet, so they're going to have to foul again. Maybe there's a chance even for a steal here, but no. Russell Westbrook's going to catch it. He's going to get fouled, and Russ is at the free throw line where he makes both. All right. The Bulls need a 3 here. Got plenty of time to get it though. Almost a full shot clock. A little over 23 seconds left in the game. What are they going to draw up? Joakim Noah going to pass it in. Give it to Derrick Rose, man. Yep, to the star player. Derrick Rose trying to get to the rim. He's going to pass it to Monte Ellis, who forces up a shot. Joakim Noah, though, follows. Okay, there's still over 18 seconds to go. So even if the Thunder go to the free throw line again, which is exactly where they're going, that's okay. Because if Harden knocks these both down, they're back in the same spot. Chicago still down 3, still with lots of time left to knock down a shot. They're going to inbound the ball here. They must not have any timeouts to work with. Derrick Rose bringing the ball up the floor. He's going to attack the basket. Pass it to Monte Ellis to Luol Deng. Luol Deng. Bro, y'all don't even know. In one of my other videos I've done on this channel, on 2K24, we've only done a couple 2K24 videos. Luol Deng knocked down a clutch corner 3. I think it was from the other corner. Luol Deng is him, bro. Luol Deng is him. He just knocked that down. Still over 9 seconds to go, though, so that does leave the door open for OKC, but what a nice look from 3 for Luol Deng. He ends up knocking it down. Huge shot. Now the Bulls need a stop to force overtime. Maybe they could somehow get a steal and win it here, but they've got to get this stop. They're going to pass it into James Harden. Harden, he's going to give it in the post to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook with time winding down, misses the layup. He had a nice look there, but Russell Westbrook misses it, and we're in overtime here. OKC finds themselves up by 4 points. Russell Westbrook this time is going to bully his way in and convert on the layup. OKC is up by 6. So Chicago desperately needs a bucket here. We've seen some clutch plays from Monte Ellis and Luol Deng. Can we see a big moment from Derrick Rose here? He's going to pull the 3. Not exactly the shot you want, but Joakim Noah, he's on the glass once again. He had that big offensive rebound earlier, and he got it again. OKC up by 4 here with the ball. Russell Westbrook defended by Derrick Rose. He's going to get the screen from Nene, pull the mid-range. Russell Westbrook is him, bro. That was a 3. Oh, wow. Yeah, this one's over, bro. Russell Westbrook took over in clutch time. for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know he missed that one layup, but he had a lot of moments in this one where he was going crazy. Chicago loses by 8 points, and now OKC is 1 game away from the NBA championship. Will they be able to get it in game 6, or is this one going to go 7? I'm excited. Either Derrick Rose or Russell Westbrook is going to get a ring here, and both of those guys are ringless in real life. So regardless, it'll be a cool outcome. The Oklahoma City Thunder have the lead in the 4th, and it looks like we've got a win for OKC. Derrick Rose dropped 30, a valiant effort there, but it isn't going to be enough for Rose. Overall, it was a solid playoff run for him, and really nobody played too well for OKC, but it was enough for them to get the chip, and Russell Westbrook was named the Finals MVP. Now it's time for the draft lottery. I'm excited, but even before that, I want to do a little rule change. I want to add some more salary cap, some more money for teams to spend in the offseason, because I feel like that was a big issue during that last offseason. So I'm going to go to league meetings here. I'm going to press replace, and then I'll be able to add my own rule change. So if you all are trying to do this in my league, you can just go ahead. You can go through the rule changes, do whatever you want. I'm going to choose to increase the salary cap by $10 million, giving teams some more money to sign players on their rosters. Usually in 2K, sometimes players expect more money than they'd expect in real life, which makes the salary cap a bit weird. So yeah. Anyway, it's time for the draft lottery, where the Timberwolves are going to land the number 1 overall pick. I don't think that was from a trade that we did in this video. It must have been from a trade that previously happened in real life, but Minnesota is going to get the number 1 pick via Memphis. And this year's draft has a legendary player, one of the most dominant players ever, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's really the main guy in this draft. There's also like JoJo White and Bob Dandridge, but the main guy you're looking at here is, of course, Kareem. And he's going to go to Minnesota, where he will be teaming up with Kevin Love. So you get a stretch big to play alongside Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think that that's going to be pretty exciting. And they also have guys like Michael Beasley and Rodney Stuckey. So Minnesota could be making some noise pretty soon. Now it's time for free agency. Derrick Rose is going to go back to Chicago. He's a restricted free agent. Russ is going back to OKC. But Chris Paul, he has no offers. So I'm going to do a sign and trade type of move for Chris Paul. We're going to send Chris Paul to the Lakers. It didn't happen in real life. I was saying how Kobe needs some help. We're going to let the Lakers let go of Steve Nash and bring in Chris Paul instead in a sign and trade move. Now, this is going to absolutely cook the Lakers' depth, but I feel like with all the star power, they should be good. We're going to have to include Lamar Odom in this trade to make the money work, which is unfortunate because he could have actually been a solid piece that would have helped out the Lakers. But, I mean, it's Chris Paul playing alongside Kobe and Powell. I think they'll be okay. Now, this guy who I was trying to include in the trade, Dwayne Jackson, he was a 9th pick. And usually in sign and trades, teams don't have to give up crazy players to make the move happen. So I'm not going to include him in the move. I will go ahead and give the Knicks a 1st-round pick to facilitate this sign and trade. And yeah, I think that that'll have us pretty much good to go. I'm excited at the possibility of Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant potentially winning a championship out there. So that's a pretty big move for this offseason. Otherwise, I'm just going to simulate free agency, and Dwight Howard chose to sign in Utah. I think that's a really cool move. Utah was able to clear up cap space by trading away Darren Williams, and boom, they add a guy in Dwight Howard. And Darren Williams actually ended up re-signing in Denver, so I feel like that move worked out very well for both sides. Eric Gordon re-signed with the Clippers. Gerald Wallace is back with the Orlando Magic. Nick Batum is back with the Blazers. JaVale McGee is back in Washington. So not a ton of player movement. A few guys are still waiting to sign with their squads. We'll see where they're at in the middle of the season. But for now, I'm going to go to player progression, where we're going to see how everybody's rosters are looking, see how players are developing. First off, I already see Paul Pierce is going down in overall. Man, that was kind of a risky move for Dallas, but I feel like they needed something like that. Anyway, Philadelphia sees Drew Holiday go up a little bit. I don't really know what's going on with Philadelphia or how to make them better, but I might need to figure out something soon for the Sixers. The Bobcats, they've got Hakeem. They've got Tyrese Thomas on the squad. Might be time to get somebody to help out Hakeem because he's developing really well really early. This Bucks team's going to be great with MJ, Brandon Jennings, and Andrew Bogut. The Bulls are the Bulls. The Cavs are terrible. They signed Chauncey Billups for some reason. I don't know what the Cavs are really doing, but maybe eventually in this NBA universe, Bron will return. I don't know. The Boston Celtics see Kevin Garnett regress. I think it might be time to trade Kevin Garnett, maybe at the trade deadline of this upcoming season. I'm just not exactly sure where. The Clippers see Blake Griffin go up a bit more. The Memphis Grizzlies are the Grizzlies. They've been pretty much the same throughout this video. Same thing for the Hawks. The Heat have pretty much stayed the same. I mean, they're a good team. The Hornets, they're still in the midst of that rebuild. The Utah Jazz pick up Dwight Howard to play alongside Gordon Hayward. The Sacramento Kings, really excited for them. John Stockton getting a lot better. Boogie getting a lot better. Omri Cassby's getting a lot better. I don't know what's going on, but everybody's developing crazy in Sacramento, so that's good to see. The Knicks, it might be time for them to move on from Amari, because if it wasn't working with Chris Paul and Amari, it's definitely not about to work with just Amari. The Orlando Magic, they lost to White. Yeah, it's going to be rough for them. The Mavs, I don't know what's next for them with an older Dirk and an older Pierce. The Nuggets, I feel like they're ready to contend with Melo and Darren Williams, and maybe I could actually trade Amari Stoudemire to the Denver Nuggets. That could be cool because we saw Melo and Amari playing alongside each other in New York, but what if they were playing alongside each other in Denver? That could be pretty interesting. The Raptors, DeMar hasn't gotten as good as he got in real life, at least yet. San Antonio's just old. The Phoenix Suns are the Phoenix Buns. The Thunder are really good. T-Wolves, they've got Kareem now. Excited for them. Blazers, they were really good over this past season, but man, yeah, the Timberwolves are going to be really cool to watch. I'm excited to see what they do. For the Warriors, it might be time to get Curry a little bit more help, and the Wizards were actually pretty good over this past season, so we'll see what they do in this upcoming year. But now that we've looked through all of the rosters, I think that the move I'm going to make is involving Amari Stoudemire. I alluded to it earlier, but guess where Amari's about to go? That's right. He is going to Denver to play with Melo, to play with Darren Williams. They're about to have a squad on the Denver Nuggets. They've got an old Tracy McGrady. That's kind of crazy. But anyway, let's try and make this move happen. I'd like to keep Ty Lawson on the squad as well because he's a pretty good player. I don't want the Nuggets giving up anybody crazy, especially considering the Knicks. They're in a position where they should be moving towards a rebuild, so we're not going to have the Nuggets give up Ty Lawson, and the New York Knicks are going to be trading away Amari Stoudemire. Now, this trade definitely does need some draft capital, so we'll include some of that to make the trade a bit better for New York. We'll even include 3 first-round picks, so a solid trade for New York. And that's going to be the end of episode 1 of my NBA universe. In the next episode, we'll see Magic Johnson enter the league, and we'll see how this upcoming season goes. I hope y'all enjoyed episode 1. If you made it to the end, comment episode 1, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.